Optical celebrates the Oscars on Pearl.
One-off sweeteners may be phased out in next month's budget. Hong Kong remains world's freest economy, but fresh warnings about corruption. And 2 Israeli soldiers killed in new round of violence near Lebanon. Good evening. Sources say the financial secretary will further cut down on one-off relief measures when he unveils the budget next month. But as Diane To reports, the move comes despite another bigger-than-expected surplus in John Tsang's blueprint.
It's quite common for the financial secretary to announce a larger-than-expected budget surplus. John Tsang has projected a $9 billion surplus for 2014 to 2015. But several groups now expect the figure to be close to the $60 billion mark. What will that mean for the people? In his last budget speech, the financial secretary warned against offering one-off relief measures, citing concerns for future structural deficits given Hong Kong's ageing population. The public saw a power bill subsidy cancelled, rates waived for 2 quarters instead of the full year, and public housing rents waived for a month instead of 2. According to sources, the government hopes to continue cutting down on these one-off sweeteners. In the budget to be announced next month, with the waived rents for public housing tenants possibly on the chopping block. Sources say public housing rents are already heavily subsidised, and those who are on welfare don't have to pay rents out of their own pocket anyway. So the government believes cancelling the rental waiver won't affect those who need help the most. Chairman of the Housing Authority Finance Committee, Raymond So, agrees this could be a good move, saying that it could help boost financial discipline. He said the authority has an efficient mechanism that ensures public housing tenants can apply for a waiver if they become financially tight due to special circumstances. So he believes waiving rents for people who don't need help is not a good way of handling public resources. However, there is a potential obstacle in cutting down on sweeteners: the district council elections at the end of this year. With some 750,000 households living in public rental units, it remains to be seen what stance politicians will take when their political future is at stake. Diane To, TVB News.
Hong Kong has been ranked the world's freest economy for the 21st year in a row by a conservative US think tank. But as Rani Samtani reports, the Heritage Foundation expressed concerns about corruption.
The 2015 Index of Economic Freedom report compiled by the U.S. think tank looked at 178 economies around the world. Hong Kong finished first for the 21st consecutive year. Its overall score dropped 0.5 points to 89.6 points. Singapore once again came in second with a score of 89.4 points, narrowing the gap with Hong Kong. New Zealand and Australia ranked third and fourth. The foundation said Hong Kong's impressive level of resilience has enabled it to withstand economic challenges, but it noted that the economy's institutional uniqueness has faded a bit. It said recent political events appear to have undermined public trust and confidence in the administration. Hong Kong has continued to dominate the top spot when it comes to business freedom, trade freedom, and financial freedom, but the foundation warns of the problem of corruption. Its Freedom from Corruption Index for Hong Kong dropped from 82.3 points to 75 points, due mainly to a deterioration in the perceived level of graft. In response, a government spokesman stressed that perceptions about corruption here in recent years might have been affected by some prominent cases. But the spokesman insisted that these are isolated incidents and that the levels of corruption in Hong Kong remain very low. The ICAC echoed those views, saying the score is based on the perceptions of survey respondents rather than the actual situation. Lawmaker Jeffrey Lam believes recent cases have affected people's perceptions, but that Hong Kong is still a clean city.
Those are individual cases, but it caused concern to the foundation. And I think the overall general situation in Hong Kong in terms of corruption is still rated highest in the world. Not corruption, but rather cleanliness.
Meanwhile, China ranked 139th with a score of 52.7 points. The foundation noted that President Xi Jinping's anti-graft campaign has cracked down on several high-ranking officials, but that corruption remains widespread. Ronnie Samtani, TVB News.
A report out today says the renminbi has become one of the world's most widely used currencies. But local monetary authorities still think Hong Kong's peg to the US dollar should stay. Another step forward in the renminbi's race to internationalization. December figures from International Financial Transactions Agency SWIFT show that 2.17% of global payments were made in the Chinese currency. It's now become one of the 5 most widely used currencies, trailing the US dollar, the euro, the British pound and the yen, while surpassing the Canadian and Australian dollars. And with Beijing loosening controls on the currency and encouraging its use globally, it doesn't look as though the renminbi's rise will come to an end anytime soon. But what does this mean for Hong Kong's financial industry and for the future of the Hong Kong dollar's peg to the US dollar?
I think the impact that it will have on our financial institutions here is that it provides a very important source of business development for them. In serving the needs of the customers as their customers begin to diversify their balance sheets into RMB. As we have said on numerous occasions, we still think the linked exchange rate system is the best monetary policy framework for Hong Kong. And we do not see any need nor do we have any plans to change that.
On the way forward, Yoon said financial institutions in Hong Kong should become more proactive in diversifying their offer of renminbi products. That's to make sure they take advantage of the opportunities provided by the currency's rise and help bring about the next wave in the renminbi's global acceptance. Overseas, the Israeli military has pounded Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon after the Jewish state said its forces came under attack today. The Israeli military said an anti-tank missile hit a military vehicle near the Israeli-Lebanese border today. Israel said 2 of its soldiers and a peacekeeper were killed. Israel fired at least 50 artillery shells into Lebanon in response. Hezbollah claimed responsibility for the missile attack and suggested it was in retaliation for an Israeli airstrike that killed 6 of its fighters and an Iranian general. Jordan says it's willing to swap an Iraqi woman prisoner involved in a deadly 2005 hotel bombing for a Jordanian pilot who was captured in December by the Islamic State group. Jordan did not give any more details about the proposal or if it actually had a chance of taking place. It also made no mention of Japanese journalist Kenji Goto, who is also being held by the Islamic State. Efforts to secure the pilot and the journalist gained urgency with the release yesterday of a purported online ultimatum claiming the Islamic State would kill them both within 24 hours if the Iraqi woman was not freed. Parts of the US Northeast are digging out after a massive winter storm took aim at several states. But for some, the storm was a letdown. James Aiken tells us why.
As winter storms go,
oh, crazy. Really crazy out here.
this one was hit or miss.
Oh my God. I've seen so many people getting stuck out here today.
Record snowfall fell in some regions, while other areas like New York City got off easy. Long Island didn't.
This snow was crazy. We're okay because we thought we were going to wake up with no power, maybe, possibly. So, this is better than what we expected.
Much the same story in Boston, where snow removal crews are working around the clock. But that doesn't mean all work and no play. For others, the commute to work is a little more enjoyable.
I mean, this is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I'm just glad the cops haven't told us we can't do it yet.
And who says people get to have all the fun? These red pandas are taking advantage of their day off at the zoo. No need for extra winter wear. Their coats are all season. For others, the sudden storm offers a zen-like experience.
I love it. It's beautiful. It's amazing. It's peaceful. It's calming. It's tranquil.
Not much tranquility in New York City, though. Officials who warned of snowmageddon are now defending their all-out emergency storm precautions.
I've seen worse dustings than this, so it's New York for you.
Would you rather be prepared or unprepared? Would you rather be safe or unsafe? To me, it was a no-brainer.
The storm is easing, but the problems are far from over. South of Boston, they wish they had snow. Storm-driven coastal flooding has hit low-lying towns hard. Some evacuations have been ordered and many homes will need to be torn down.
There's days of work to do before things return to normal.
Meanwhile, travel bans are being lifted, but no one's planning a parade just yet. Most parade routes are full of snow, too.
Thanks, guys.
James Aiken, TVB News.
Back locally, pan-democratic lawmakers have given a cool response to reports that the government will try to improve the arrangements for the 2022 chief executive election. That's aimed at winning their support for the reform package for the 2017 CE election. Stephanie Choi reports.
Government sources have revealed possible concessions for the nominating mechanism in the 2022 chief executive election. The move is expected to help sway pan-democratic lawmakers to pass the government's reform proposal for the 2017 vote later this year, something they have promised to veto. The Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong has urged pan-democrats to pocket the reform package. Tam Yu Chung of the pro-establishment party said once the step is made, improvements can be made to the system for electing the chief executive via universal suffrage. Pan-democratic lawmakers are cool to the idea.
We would like Beijing to honor the undertaking that it gave to Hong Kong people several years ago. That means we can elect the chief executive by universal suffrage in 2017. For them to tell us, or a government source to say, oh, why don't you just swallow this package, which is not universal suffrage, and then further down the road, maybe there's a chance of making further improvements. There's no way.
I don't think such rumors warrant any serious response at all. If there is anything good, I would expect the Central People's Government to come out in clearly articulated terms and engage Hong Kong people with it.
Civic Party lawmaker Dennis Kwok said if the sources are accurate, the government will have to do more. For example, address how it will ensure that the nominating committee is broadly representative in order to win the trust of the people. Still, Executive Council convener Lam Wun Kwong called for a compromise.
If the pan-democrats really veto the proposal, then the consequence would be nothing will change and nothing will happen, not only in 2017, but also in 2020, when the next legislative election comes up. Some progress is better than no progress at all.
Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
In addition to still owing staff their December salaries, ATV also hasn't paid its license fee. The government says it may revoke the broadcaster's license if it fails to do so. Acting Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Godfrey Leung said authorities are very concerned about the case. The cash-strapped broadcaster is required to pay the outstanding amount in 2 installments before March. As for the unpaid wages, a hearing will be held at the Labour Tribunal on Monday. Former Portuguese star Luís Figo says he wants to become FIFA president and has the nominations needed to run against current head Sepp Blatter. Also in football, Chelsea forward Diego Costa was accused of stamping on several players during his side's win over Liverpool last night. Tony Sabine reports.
Chelsea against Liverpool is always a lively encounter, and so it proved in the second leg of their League Cup semi-final. The Blues had the edge, having scored an away goal at Anfield, but Liverpool were determined to win. The deadlock was broken in the 4th minute of extra time, when Branislav Ivanovic's header sealed a 2-1 aggregate win to send Chelsea to the League Cup final for the first time in 7 years. Things turned a little nasty towards the end when star striker Diego Costa was involved in another tussle with a Liverpool player, this time Reds captain Steven Gerrard. He was accused of stamping on Martin Skrtel and Emre Can earlier, and Liverpool boss Brendan Rodgers was not amused.
It was poor really by him because he's an outstanding player, top player, and doesn't need to do it. big